So I'm a dad blogger, and I guess the simplest way to start that is where it began. That's my pregnant wife. She'll kill me if she ever knew I showed this photo in front of everyone. This is actually the first photo of my son. And I want to give a little backstory about why this is important to me. This was actually taken with an iPhone right after my son was being delivered. This is him about 6 or 7 months ago. His name is Mark. This is a good picture of my wife, and she'll be okay that I showed this. And this is Mark doing his Justin Bieber impersonation. So, let's talk about why I blog and what I blog, right? Being a daddy blogger came as a personal experience. I wanted something that was uniquely me. I wanted to be doing something that was talking and encouraging dads to be better dads. That's how I started. I wanted and I saw a need for fatherhood back in 2009. There was very little blogs, there was a ton of mommy blogs, there was a ton of lifestyle blogs that featured mom and parenting, but it was all parenting from the mom aspect. There was very little dad. In 2010, it was called the Year of the Dad Blogger. Thousands upon thousands of dad blogs popped up all across the internet. I was one of those dad blogs. I had been around social media for long before that, but that was the first time I actually stood up a website. So when I stood up Dad on Rocks, I thought no one was going to read it. Lo and behold, at the end of the first week, 50 people read it. And I was like, well, that's about my family and cousins. By the end of the first month, I was having 300 or 400 people come to the website in a week. By the end of the first year, it's become thousands upon thousands of viewers per month that I'd have no clue where and how they found me. So I started and kept going with that until complications. Everything's about complications in life, right? You never really want to sit there and say, well, I got to stop. No, I didn't want to stop. My wife wanted me to cut out the bedroom talk. So that's not on the blog anymore. And I listened to my wife because it is about give and take, and taking the divorce papers isn't what I want to take. So you have to balance what my story is with what is being publicly displayed. And then the next thing happened about I had a medical condition with my son, and I didn't want to blog about that. And I was very clear that that's where I drew the line. I wasn't going to make a decision that would affect the rest of his life, because Google is going to live long beyond my blog, beyond our lives probably at this point. So I didn't want someone Googling his name and coming up with something in 10 or so years. So I don't blog about him so much. Now what I blog about is the father's perspective and encouraging dads to be a better dad. So that's what today's blog is. Now, one of the things is really unique is connecting with other dads, because moms connect. Moms have community. They're instant community builders. They sit there and they see one another and they want to help and they want to guide and they want to influence other moms. Dads aren't that way. Dads sit there and they want to be their own man. They sit there and they don't go up to a bar and they don't sit to the guy next to them and say, hey, how you doing? That would seem creepy. Moms, on the other hand, have no problem doing that. So that's why dads are siloed. That's why dads have the same 5 friends from college or from elementary school that they do today. There's going to be a whining joke in here soon. I warn you about this, all right? So I know that my best friends, when I was having my kid, I was way ahead of the curve, right? They weren't having kids, and I was. So I started having less and less guy friends. And I started realizing that I was connecting more with moms, and that was a problem for my wife, because she wasn't happy about that. But what I did realize is that if I set up community, and I started building community, and Twitter was that community, and Twitter gave me that hope, and Twitter gave me that sounding board about what happens when your kid poops in the tub. You clean it up. That's pretty much the idea. But the funny thing is, I thought I was alone when that happened. Turns out, hundreds upon thousands of people have experienced the same thing. It's true. I didn't believe that either. So I now sit there on Twitter, and I do a lot of tweeting, and I talk about the brands I like, I talk about the people I enjoy, I promote the things I really believe in this life. I do a lot of charity fundraising. In the last year alone, I've raised over $20,000 via Twitter for charities I believe in. So there is good, and then there is parenting. And the parenting advice you take with a grain of salt, because I've definitely said some things, I've definitely gotten some responses that make you sit there and be like, really? You hold the baby upside down out the window? No, that's not how you really hold a baby. But the best I could sit there and say is that it's an evolution, much like my child evolves, right? My child is always growing, and I am sitting there and I'm growing as a blogger and as a person on the 140 on Twitter. There's never a good answer for how to make things work, and I've learned that as a parent. You just do what you can and you try to make it work. As my wife says, I whine a lot. So that's about me and the child about the same. I complain about dinner and he complains about he needs his diaper changed. But that's life. So I give my wife a lot of credit, and my wife has sat there and said, well, why don't I do this? So I finally got her into blogging too, and I'm sorry. And I'm sorry because she now sees everything I tweet, so I no longer have the venting place I used to have. But I did this to myself. So what I will say to you, if you are a father, is there is a community out there. You could find it easily. You could use the hashtag #DadsTalking. It looks like dad's stalking, but they're talking. And you could sit there and you could find hundreds upon hundreds of dads. You could also sit there and join the community of parents that we've built on latenightparents.com. These are things that are growing. You know, there is Babbel, and Babbel is an amazing community for moms. There are very, very few dads, and that's, you know, growing and that's changing. And I think everyone sees that's changing. These days, Procter & Gamble has invented Man of the House. They used to do the soap operas, now they're doing websites. And Man of the House is a great resource for guys. It's it's like the 800th most popular website in the US these days. It's really, really popular. And the reason is they're connecting with dads on a guy level. They want you to understand that you're still a guy, even though you deal with diapers and poo and everything else. I deal with a lot of poo, all right? There's no humor in that after you change your 5th dirty diaper in a day. So you got to understand what this is all about. It's about community. We build, we learn, we live. The best thing I could sit there and say is that I learned how to read to my child from Twitter. The right books, not the ones I wanted to read. I stopped reading Spider-Man comics because that's what I read to my kid. This is the only time I could read my comics because my wife would look at me and say, wait, you're reading comics still as a grown man. This is a problem. Thankfully, my child's old enough now to watch cartoons, so I now get to watch my cartoons again without her commenting on it. Because I say, no, it's for him. We're watching Spider-Man. We don't really grow up. We just grow old. And that's the thing I like to encourage my son to remember, is keep his imagination, keep his laugh. And I try to encourage all the dads to keep their sanity. And to the moms out there, remember, Father's Day is this weekend. So if you haven't gotten your card, get your card. And if nothing else, just remember it's Father's Day. And that's going to be it. And today I leave you with, you know, a Jerry Seinfeld quote. Having a 2-year-old is like having a blender without a top. Thanks so much.